Well, good morning, everybody. It is the time that you get to sit and listen to us talk about fun things and look back and look forward. Just another way that we like to connect around here. It's called Coffee Talk because we all have our fake coffees in our hands, but we are going to talk. So,
Did I tell you, I had this idea to help kids.
You're always like,
no.
Is it recording?
No.
Okay, I'm going to go off on a tangent.
Yeah, because this is good. You got to have it on record. No, I've got this idea. I'd love to encourage parents for helping your kids really get into the mindset of John and Peter and the ladies who went looking for Jesus at the tomb, right? Because Easter's coming up. But it takes a long time to kind of really help your kids get this lesson. So you got to start them when they're young. A year's fine. 2 is excellent. And you do your Easter egg hunt. You get those plastic eggs, right? And you got to make sure the plastic eggs have the best things in them. They don't have to be all the junky chocolate or whatever if you're kind of more concerned about health. Just put whatever your kid would think would the best. At 2, my kids, yogurt covered raisins. They'd have been like, this is amazing. Yeah. This is the best thing. So
at 42.
Yeah, I'm not immune to dipping in there. Oh man, you mix them with a little chocolate covered espresso, and you get it's next level. Anyways, so you do that year after year after year. You hide the eggs. The best things are in the plastic, right? Okay. Then when they're older, 8, maybe even 10, 1 year you hide all the Easter stuff like normal, except leave the plastic ones empty. See, my kids, they're on Main Island with Sheena, and the Williams family have this tradition of the Easter hunt. And if I had my way about it, the kids would have empty Easter eggs all over. So they go there and they're like, this is going to be the best one, and they open it, nothing inside, right? And then you get a follow-up conversation about how it's just like the people who thought, right? They thought the tomb would have Jesus, and they were expecting it to have like him, and it was empty, and that turned out to be even better.
Yeah.
And that way we can. But it takes it. You got to start young. So if you have toddlers who are Easter hunting this year,
Interesting.
start the lesson now. I think it'd be good.
That's amazing. Good thinking.
Easter preparation, that's what we've been talking about for weeks anyways. Right.
When you guys, looking back, we talked about come empty as we do, and we were talking about empty noise. So I have a question for you guys. When does a sound become noise to you? So I'll just, you got to think about it. So I'll just tell you what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I was in the car with a youth about 10 years ago, 15 years ago when I was youth pastor, and he's like, I got to show you this song.
Okay.
So he turns it on, and I'm just like, how could you listen to that? That's just awful. I didn't say it, but I was like, what do you like about it? But to me, it was just noise, like like just all this. It was really weird, and so I was just wondering when we were talking about empty noise, what becomes noise to you, or what's music?
Kevin, do you also have that scene from Dumb and Dumber playing through?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah. My first instinct was it depends on how tight my socks are.
Go back to episode whatever.
But I do think a lot of it is situational, right? And there is more tolerance for noise depending on what else. Like, am I in the middle of trying to concentrate really hard on something and just finishing something that that requires a lot of focus and attention, then that threshold is really low. I am definitely at more than one point in time being guilty of turning off the radio so I can park the car, right?
Oh yeah.
Totally. So all of that, it just depends. There's I guess a lot of variables in it.
No, that's a good answer. Yeah.
I would say the same thing. First thing I would do is if somebody wants to talk to me in the car, I have to turn the radio off or turn it down, only because my mind, like you said, my mind is divided.
Yeah.
Right? I'm kind of trying to do both. And so, I think also it's extremely subjective, but like volume and like, and harmony? Like, does it fit the 12-tone scale if we're talking music? Or, like, there is a lot of things that would be noise. Like look at what was it? Stomp, right? That's just noise.
Right.
That's just
But
noise.
when it's put together nicely.
And yet
yeah.
you can still work
Yeah.
those same noises into interesting things.
Yeah.
Sorry to the owner of this vase.
Nice handbrake. So, it's funny because my social media feed is often people adding bagpipes to songs that have no business having bagpipes in them. And so every now and then I'll be like, yeah, I'll get into that. And then not long ago, it was someone, same kind of setup, right? You see someone with the bagpipes and they're getting ready, and I'm like, how are they going to, and I'm watching because I'm like, how are they going to incorporate bagpipes into this? Because 9 times it fits surprisingly well.
Yeah.
And they kind of pull the reverse card on it, where instead of like incorporating it in, they just drown out the song with more traditional things. I'm like, I see what you did there.
Or like,
you're just adding noise.
remember that "Oh Holy Night" that I would play for Jeff every year? It's a beautiful song. The
is.
person's heart is in a wonderful place, and
Yes.
they're so passionate, and they're not hitting any of those notes.
Not at all.
Aren't we glad that God hears our heart, not our voice? Well, in your case, he hears both, but for me, well, those are good. Like, I really like how you're talking about it depends on my focus, and the idea was on Sunday that noise was kind of a synonym of distraction. You know, like it becomes noise when it's a distraction, and so it's not necessarily the volume of the sound, because a good sound can be a good thing, like the people singing praises to Jesus as he entered Jerusalem, right? Yep.
Sorry, go ahead. Which it sounded like the religious leaders said that was noise.
Yeah,
Right?
Yep.
Their praise of him was noise.
Yep, because they thought it was a distraction from what they thought was right, but it was actually what was right.
And yet I wonder, in those same moments, with those religious leaders, then they would go and they would do their praise, but they would, still with injustice and hatred in their heart. Is that not noise to God? Sorry to jump to the ending.
No, it's good. We're just going back and reviewing. So yeah, the whole idea, you said it, is the divided mind, right? Like that's what Jesus was talking to Martha about. You are worried. There's kind of a divided mind. It's going off in all different directions, right? So when we talked about that idea, it's so cool in the Bible that God, well, it was funny because he doesn't say don't worry alone.
Yeah.
He does say don't worry. So as soon as
Yeah.
I said it, it's like, okay, who's watching? Because but he doesn't just say don't worry and leave it there for us to figure out, well, how do I not worry?
Yeah.
He's like, I know you're going to be wanting to focus on something. So he gives us something to focus on. He's like, my kingdom, Jesus. And so how do we do that? You and I were talking about that a little bit earlier. Just empty your backpack, you know, and just tell them about it. And sorry, I'm cutting it short, but those are what I'm thinking. So.
But like on that thought, like you about 3/4 of the way through, you said, like sometimes we just assume, oh yeah, it's all good, we've got it, and then we miss such a simple thing of the practice of just casting our cares on him.
Yeah.
And we just kind of assume, like he cares for me and it's all good. And then I'm going to go deal with my own frustrations and anxieties and deal with it. And I'm trying to, work hard, go through the processes. And, especially for families in busy seasons, I got to take this all on. And it speaks volumes to me to say it's a practice of casting my anxieties and cares, and like it feels like I'm just bringing my backpack to him and saying, can you take that for me? Can you take that for me? Wow, this is a whole lot lighter, and I know that I've placed it on him, and yes, we're going to work it out together, but it's not on me to fix everything. And on top of that, the anxiety and the weight of that thing is now not resting on me. It's a practice.
that backpack idea, I really like. To me, it comes to life in the Pilgrim's Progress. And if you haven't read the book, Pilgrim's Progress, Christian is carrying all this weight. And at some point, he's told, like, go, but get rid of it. You know, that you don't have to carry that. I've got it. And so when he lets go, he's like, I can, move. I forget exactly the details, but the idea that I got was you can jump freely. And if you've ever carried a backpack for a while, which you guys probably have, when if you're especially if you're on a hike, like I've done backpacking trips where you just get so used to it, you take it off and you're like, I can jump to the moon, like it just feels so great, right?
Yeah, depending on what you're carrying.
Yeah,
right?
Well,
yeah.
And there's another aspect of that decluttering that's really important, and it's that the person has to really want to declutter, right? Have you ever tried to get rid of stuff with someone who doesn't want to actually get rid of it? Right? And I think we do that.
Throw that away.
Yeah, just to declutter, right? And it's like, because all the time you'd be like, oh, what about this? You haven't touched this in 12 years. This isn't really that important. And they're like, oh no, but that is, so important. And we sometimes can do that with Jesus too, where if we don't really want to do it. We're trying to give him stuff, but we're also then, actually, let me just want it out a little bit longer. Let me just carry, and so it has to be something that we're really invested in.
As we've been talking, that cast your anxiety on him, for he cares for you, 1 Peter 5:7, comes in a new light, because it's not just when you're feeling upset, cast your care. If you feel like it, it's like cast your anxiety. Like it's a command. Like do it. Like that brings that in a new light when you say that. Like don't just, God, I'm worried about this, but actually give it to him, That's pretty powerful.
I mean, without having studied it too much, the word cast is very interesting, because what comes to mind for me is either throwing stones or casting a line and fishing, right? And the idea that you're trying to get it out there as far as you can.
Right.
This isn't going to be something that I'm going to hold close anymore. Right. But it's not just, I'm just going to like, okay, Jesus, we're riding together, so if I give it to you, it's really also still kind of close to me. It's the idea that we're actually going to get it far out and remove it.
That's yours now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important and significant. This whole thing, especially focusing on anxiety, it brings to mind, like, we were on our drive Sunday listening to a book, and in the book, the character talks about a therapy technique where they're trying to deal with their worry and their stresses. And the therapist tells them to allow yourself 2 sessions a day where you can full on worry. And then if you catch yourself starting, and I don't know if this is a good therapy technique or not, but it did bring up some, I do think I've heard people talk about that. But so you allow yourself like 10 minutes twice a day, and that's your time to worry. And so if you start to worry, you just say, oh, that's not the time for that now, we'll get to that later today. 3 o'clock's coming and we'll work. And then you eventually find yourself like worrying less, right? And how the person in the story was like, actually now I'm down to 1 session a day, where only once a day I go in, I pull out my journal, I just write out my worries, and I just thought, that's my time to worry. I'm going to worry, and then do it. And then, and I think what, it's, part of it is, it's like Jesus wants us to give it to him, yes, but that's not as impossible sometimes as we make it out to seem. I guess is what I'm trying to say, and what kind of brings to mind in that, that it, there's things that can be done to help with that. And part of it is just recognizing, okay, Jesus, you could actually do this. Okay, here it is. Let's just name it. Let's call it. Let's address it. And then when it comes out, that's not time for that. Wait, I gave that to Jesus. I don't have to hold on to that anymore.
When my kids were younger, my wife would say to them, what are you meant to be doing now? And so I say that to myself sometimes, like, okay, I'm divided. What am I meant to be? Focus on Jesus. Focus on what He's meaning for you to do right now. I think that's part of it too. So, no, these are good. Come Empty. We were talking about Come Empty. We're going to finish that series on Sunday with the empty tomb. Big reveal here. We are going to talk about an empty tomb, but we have all these empty jars. And just so you know, we were loaned these, and if you're interested, you can talk to us about maybe owning one of them. But it's been just really neat to kind of flesh out our series by having all these empty jars to remind us about Come Empty. We have a couple things coming up before Sunday. Can you tell us about that?
Yep, Friday morning at 10 a.m., Good Friday, April 3rd. You can join us at Emmanuel Church. Come early. It's a large gathering of some churches on the west side that are gathering together to remember the sacrifice that was given on Good Friday, and to celebrate together, and hearing the word from one of our local pastors, and yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
So 10 o'clock.
And then Easter Sunday is this Sunday at 10 a.m. here, and we will celebrate that together. It is a communion Sunday, so we'll be celebrating that as well. And then there's something come up after that.
Yeah, on the 12th is also the next Soup Sunday. And so we're excited to gather together, to hang out, to fellowship, have soup. It's so good. And then another opportunity, well, there's a few different opportunities and ways to support the Romania team. One of them is we'll be doing a dessert auction after the Soup Sunday. So if you have time and want to stick around and support our team after you've had lots of time to soup and fellowship and all of that, we'll just start bringing out desserts. And if you wish to partake, then you can join. If you just want to hang out and keep just hanging out, that's all good too. But that'll come up after that. And so that's on April 12th.
So we have a great week, a great couple weeks coming up. So
Can I talk one more Romania thing?
Sure.
Because I realized I said there's lots of different ways to support.
Yeah.
I only gave one option.
Yeah.
You're also going to start seeing this week information about it's spring. People have spring projects that they're trying to get done, and if you want help with any of those, talk to me, and we might have team members who can help. I would not recommend hiring us to do your taxes, but maybe I'm just speaking for me. But lots of things to do around the house, the yard, whatever. If you have a project you could use a set of hands with, we might have a person who could help you with that. So if you got ideas, we'd love to connect with you on that, so you can see me on Sundays.
Sounds awesome. Yeah. Well, that's some of the things that are coming up. So we are excited about that. Hope that you are having a great Easter week. This is the kind of the Easter week between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday, and we just really look forward to seeing you and celebrating together with you on Sunday. Have a great week.